So on my channel page on Professor Gerdes Explains on the community tab, I put this the other day. I think this is great. It will be easier to see the plume of black tire smoke from a greater distance. So what has happened here is that after the Ukrainians had struck Russian bases with very inexpensive drones, attacking planes, very expensive multi-million dollar planes. The defense of these planes was Russians putting tires on these planes, and like, as I guess they're thinking that the drone's going to hit it and bounce off or something. I'm not exactly sure what they're thinking, but then there were a number of comments on here. And I love my community. You guys are so smart and you've guided me to great ideas. But here you just made me laugh. The comments that I saw, there are 180 of them, so I didn't see all of them, but I'm going to read them and just work my way through them. Okay. One said, I'm no expert, but I suppose an incendiary bomb might be easier to cause the effect desired now that there is a combustible material all over the aircraft. I'm pretty sure that rubber burns. I don't think that that's going to stop what they think is going to stop. Next comment, if you look at the enhanced photo, each tire has a score inside, making it fun for drone operators. High score wins. The British had bouncing bomb in World War II, and Russia came up with... While I welcome adding some humor to the situation, considering how cheap and easy this is to deploy, even if marginally effective against shrapnel, it might be worth it. Would be cool to see a test of this against a small drone with a fragmentation attack. Well, we're going to see that test pretty soon, I'm pretty sure. I wonder if they noticed that the tires have a hole in the middle. Tires have petroleum in them, so they burn at a higher temperature too, melting all metals. Okay, well that's good to know. Tires make good jet fuel and burn super hot. Is this a form of Russian roulette? Great comments. I believe it may become very tiresome having to keep moving the tires every time the plane needs to be put into service. You might not like it, but this is the pinnacle of Russian military innovation. Great humor, Professor. Well, it's not just me. You guys are the funny ones. Ivan says, Igor, did you bring your car to work today? Igor, yes. Why? The only logic I can see is if this is a decoy, missing its engines or camouflaging itself, pretending to be a decoy, maybe, but even so, yeah, you could waste a couple $1,000s on that drone and you still take off that. It's still worth it. It shows their dedication for their assets. Poor man's reactive armor. Or they're just morons. Okay, the good thing about tires is rubber from tires is made of an oily substance. Once it catches fire, you're never going to put it out and you have to wait for it to burn out. This is like adding oil to fuel. Hard to get started to burn, but once it's started, there's no stopping. Another version of napalm. Well done, Russia. I'm surprised they just don't move the aircraft if it's at risk. Like, that would have made sense. Let's move it further away, somewhere towards Siberia. In the Philippines, some people put tires in the roof of the house to prevent it from damage caused by strong winds. Now I know that this trick also is applicable to planes. It must be a general who came up with this brilliant idea. Perhaps they've learned something from their new allies in Africa. Can well understand that things are going badly for them in that war. I know, right? Yeah, it's a good thing that they got themselves some protection. Well, they were told to use rubbers for protection, weren't they? Well, that is rubber, and that's some kind of protection. Now, that's a high-tech military. Russia has gone from a reputation as the second greatest military on earth to putting used tires on their airplanes as a defense tactic. What an embarrassment. It's kind of true. How good of them to enhance our viewing pleasure. Here's hoping that they still use magnesium for a bunch of those pesky internal parts. Every NATO Air Force member just pissed themselves laughing at Russia, from dude pulling the chocks right up to the top generals. I can't wait to see the videos of these burning. Oh, it'll be something fantastic when those go up. Never underestimate the protective value of Soviet-made Lada tires. Some Russian general. This is a new and cheaper way to coat the plane with radar non-reflective coatings, making this plane stealthy. Or, look, tubers on the river, can't bomb civilians having fun. It's nice of the orcs to add easily combustible material outside the metal where the fuel tanks are, so that even a small outside fire will cause the total destruction of the plane. Somebody is definitely tired of maintaining these old Soviet-era bombers. What's the point of putting tires on the top of these military planes on Russian airfields? I'm not sure I understand the physics or method to the madness behind it. Is it an effort to disperse a blast from explosive drones or to evade aerial surveillance somehow? Well, the replies are this. Probably to report up the hierarchy that measures have been taken. I guess old tires is something that they got lying around, and something else had been lying around. They would have used that instead. Probably priority number one is to give higher-ups the impression that problems are solved. I think Darn Cardiovascularis 5497, I think he's right. I think there's something to that where there's false reporting up the chain in an authoritarian system, and I think they're just saying, we've taken care of it, and it's going up the chain. We've taken care of it with great measures, and yeah. It's probably to modify radar and light reflection, a camouflage which should make targeting by drones more difficult, but I don't think this one would work. Probably correct, but why tires which look ridiculous and not anything else? Paint, some kind of fabric of some kind, something. I'm sure a lot of stuff is better than that. So another said, early warning aircraft, Lada style. Lada is the Russian car manufacturer. It only shows that most people have not much knowledge of physics. Tires contain carbon black, and carbon black is absorbing near infrared light on a special range. Night vision cameras are working. Of course, it does not camouflage during the daytime, but it camouflages at nighttime when Ukraine usually attack in the airfield. Maybe that's true, but it also burns, and that could be a problem. What about the holes in the middle? Now, Dan says, I don't see why everyone has such contempt for this. The drones, it was done in response to have very small warheads with relatively low velocity shrapnel that can make holes in the skin of an airplane, but not much more. Tires would stop it easily where it hits the tires. Well, that's assuming that there's not fire. If it's an explosion that creates a fire, this actually magnifies it. But let's go on with what Dan had to say, because it's a good point. Shrapnel going straight down would mostly not be blocked, but stuff from an explosion goes in all directions, so a lot of it would be going on an angle and would be stopped. It's something that they can do at no cost that could save a few parts in one of their spare parts planes. It seems like a good idea temporarily until they can get something better in place. Just because they're the enemy doesn't mean that they're stupid. Assuming that your enemy is always stupid is an easy way to lose. And look, he's right, but they can easily innovate from that to, let's say it's something shrapnel, to something simply incendiary. If you just created a drone that used something napalmish, it's going to spread like a wildfire, and there we are. Okay, all right, boys, today we're going to need your car tires. Are these winter tires or summer tires? Well, that's a good question. Give the Ukrainians a recipe for a sticky bomb, and that's exactly right. That's what it turns into, essentially. Where's the safety blanket? Kids have them, and it seems to work. And they could theoretically stitch a bunch of these together and have some protection, but that's not what they're doing. New Russian green tech. I don't blame anyone for wanting to retire. Retire, get it? Didn't know Russians made cope cages for planes too. Now, if you don't know what cope cages are, they're these things that go around tanks and other things to make sure that it protects them. So this is the same idea here. They looked very tired. Well played. There's no technology like Russian technology. Okay, just a couple more and we'll be done. Creative yet desperate. I think that's true, but it's also going to backfire, if you understand my pun. Now, Chicken Duck Happy said something really interesting to my mind. Remember, I'm a professor. I teach leadership, built leadership programs, and I think this is accurate. This must be the result of micromanagement. Some bigwig from the staff personally telling people on the ground to do that. I wonder why they don't just quickly snap together some rebar hangers. It's not like that dam near the Netherlands built in the 1970s to hold back the entire sea and the coast. Just a couple of little hangers. Don't get me wrong, I love that they're so stupid. But somebody somewhere thought this was a great idea. Go do this. Aha, boss, we've completed it, we fixed it, we did this, and it passes back up the chain of command. Peak Russian engineering. Seems like the clever guys left Russia long ago. They probably fled when there was this call for mobilization. Okay, I'm not going to belabor it and read all the rest of these. You can read them on the community tab. And if you're not part of my community, please subscribe. I have 762 videos in the 550 some odd days of the war. And I do these daily to keep you updated and informed so that you can understand context in the war in Ukraine. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.